Okay, Kate Arndt.
Ah,
Let's try this again. How's it going?
it's going, Chris.
All right. So I gave you an assignment for this episode. I wanted you to tell me your dream vacation. First of all, where would you want to go for your dream vacation?
Switzerland.
Switzerland.
Yeah.
Why Switzerland?
They have mountains and cities and lakes
And hot cocoa.
and hot chocolate.
Yeah.
You could ski. You could party at a nightclub.
Okay.
What more could you want?
Any particular place in Switzerland you'd want to go?
I would definitely want to go to the Alps
The Alps, the Swiss
Yes.
Alps. Okay, so that's pretty expensive, right?
during the summer. I'm sure it is.
All right, so you want to fly out of Indianapolis, correct? Actually, we're going to be fly out of Chicago.
Yeah.
Because that's a bit cheaper for international flights.
And my parents live in Chicago,
Okay.
so it's not unreasonable.
No disrespect to the Indianapolis International Airport. Great airport, but for international flights, we go to Chicago. And you said Zurich, right? Not Bern.
Yes.
Zurich, Switzerland. And you want to go during the summer, right?
That's correct.
Okay. So let's pick a random month in, let's say July.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, we're going to pick a random week in July. How long do you want to be gone for? 2 weeks?
A month?
A month? We'll do 2 weeks.
Don't tell Sarah and Evan.
Yeah, we're not giving you that much time off. Okay. So this will do its calculations. We're on google.com/flights, by the way. It looks like I can get you on Air Portugal, a 12-hour flight, not bad, for $719 round trip.
Oh my gosh.
$719. So write that down.
I've paid just about the same for a flight to Austin, Texas.
No,
once. Yes.
you did not.
I swear.
Kate. Oh, I have so much
I'll
to
never
teach
get
you.
over that.
I have so much. I won't get over it. That's going to keep me up at night.
I had to do it. I committed to a girls' trip.
Oh my gosh. All right, now we're going to go for a hotel.
I want one of those cottages in a tiny little city in the Alps.
Like from Frozen.
Chris, I have not watched Frozen.
Clearly. All right. So you want a cottage in the Alps. That's going to cost you.
With a hot tub.
With a hot tub.
With a view of the valley.
Would a hostel work for you?
No.
Okay, no hostels
You
for
said
Kate.
dream vacation.
Okay. I save money on my dream vacations too. We are very different as people are learning. So we're going to say that would be with a hot tub. You're killing me. My computer won't even like this. Like
Okay,
this is
scratch
not
the hot
Chris.
tub.
This is Chris. Who's holding you hostage and making you put this into me right now? My computer. Here we go. Spa.
Oh, okay.
Click the button that says spa. Oh, okay. All right.
How much?
Nope. No. I can find better than that. Do you want a full resort or just like with the fireplace and everything and the
geez,
ski?
I mean, we're talking
Dream vacation?
Dream vacation. I think we go all out for that.
Okay. So that's going to run you about $567 a night. This is you can't see it here, but it's the Dolder Grand. It's a very beautiful looking resort hotel. Very nice. It's got a spa.
I'm trying to look at it through the reflection in your glasses.
My glasses aren't big enough. Reserve a room. Because then we got to pay all the junk fees, the taxes and the junk fees and the resort fees. So for your hotel, for 14 nights, it's going to cost you $12,300. Okay? Can you live with that? Do you need a car in Switzerland, or what do you think?
I'll just ride a cow.
You'll just ride a cow? Don't they have cows in Switzerland?
I think they do.
But you're not going to stray far from the resort. You're just going to hang out in the mountains.
Yeah, I'm going to be a local.
Okay. So no rental car.
No.
Anything else for this trip you need, do you think?
I can't think of anything.
Okay. Hotel, flight. You'll take an Uber probably to get there and back, so we won't count that.
No, probably not an Uber. They have public transportation.
Ah, they
ever
do.
heard of
You
it?
could just hop on a bike probably.
A gondola.
A gondola. All right. So, wow. Kate, this is going to cost...
I'm scared. What's the total?
We're going to round it up because you're some of your incidentals. We're going to say $13,500 for your 2-week-long dream vacation to Switzerland.
Breakfast included.
Full breakfast included in that every single morning. So So Kate, imagine you've done all this planning for your vacation. You've paid for your flights, paid for your hotel. You have done everything right that you need to do. You've researched, you know where you're going to have your coffee, you know the discotheques you're going to go to at night, all this fun stuff. July gets here. You've packed your bags. You're about to go to the airport, but suddenly you learn that you have tested positive for COVID. You'd have to cancel your vacation, right? Your trip would be over. You can't go to Zurich, Switzerland and play in the Alps. But if you had one simple product, you could avoid losing all of that money, all of that $13,000.
Is it a time machine?
It is not a time machine. Hi, I'm Chris Wakefield.
And I'm Kate Arndt.
And on this show, we are going to explore what makes our economy tick. We'll interview the experts, learn about how economic changes can impact you at home, and we'll find a way to make it make sense. Episode 2, Insurance.
This podcast is brought to you by Bedel Financial Consulting. Founded in 1989, our client-first approach is built on transparency and trust. No commissions, no products, no conflicts of interest. Just confidence and peace of mind. Trust Bedel.
So Kate is now at home, suitcase is packed, and suddenly you find out you've tested positive for COVID and your vacation is canceled. All hope may not be lost. I recently spoke to someone who might be able to help.
Hi, my name is Sarah Mahafa. I'm a senior wealth advisor with Bedel Financial Consulting. I'm also the manager of our financial planning team.
And Kate, Sarah just so happens to be an expert in travel insurance. I started by asking Sarah, who needs travel insurance?
Everybody needs travel insurance. So if you are taking a trip and you don't want to risk losing your investment, trips are not inexpensive generally, and so anything could come up. You could, even prior to the pandemic, you could get sick and not be able to go. Your kid could get sick, somebody that you take care of, elderly parents. So we've always had this risk of not being able to go on the trip. Things happen. I would say everybody needs it.
So everyone needs travel insurance, but does everyone need travel insurance for every trip? Like, what if I'm just heading to Chicago for the weekend to watch the Chicago White Sox play?
It depends on the extent of your bookings, and so if you have to cancel a hotel, generally you can get reimbursed for that if you've got you're giving enough advance notice. If it's a flight, that's a different scenario. So I think it does depend. So probably some of the smaller weekend, overnight road trip type things, you could go without it. But anything where, especially if there is like some flights, there's no cancellation or no rebookings, that you might want to think more strongly about having insurance for.
So essentially, what Sarah is saying here is that it's all about risk tolerance. Kate, if your big trip to Switzerland, which costs $13,500, is canceled, you would be pretty upset about losing all that money. But if my weekend baseball trip to Chicago is canceled and I miss out on a couple of nights of hotel fare, I wouldn't be that upset. So, how much would you be willing to risk before you decided you need trip insurance? Obviously not $13,500, but how much?
Maybe $2,000.
$2,000. Okay, so that's your risk tolerance. And now that we know what your risk tolerance is and how much money we are willing to walk away from, it's time to choose a policy. And this is where it gets tricky. Because just like health insurance, Sarah tells me each
policy is different. So some will cover everything. So like a cancel for any reason will reimburse you generally for kind of every element of the trip.
So let's just say you wake up one day, you don't have COVID, but let's just say you wake up, you don't feel good. Maybe
your boyfriend breaks up with you and you don't want to go on the trip anymore.
You broke up with your boyfriend, you don't want to go on the trip, or you stubbed your toe, or whatever the reason is. You can cancel your trip for any reason and get compensated by the travel insurance company. You would be covered. And depending on what package you choose, it could reimburse you for everything: flights, hotels, rental cars, everything. Sarah tells me that if you select that insurance, obviously you should expect to pay more. Since trip insurance is customizable, you can hand select which parts of your trip you actually want covered.
Some will only cover flights, for example. So it really depends on the level of coverage that you purchase.
And of course, going back to risk tolerance, everyone has their break-even point of what exactly they want to be covered under their trip insurance policy. I asked Sarah if there was a general rule that should be followed for this.
I would say, your biggest expenses and the biggest pieces that you can't recover. So if it's, your flights, your hotel, if it's a longer stay, if it's a cruise, you want to make sure that you can get reimbursed for that. Those are typically bigger ticket items.
The big ticket items. So maybe take your 3 or 4 largest expenses for your Switzerland vacation, your Swiss vacation, and you cover those. The cost of your cruise, the hotel bill, your flights. Those types of things are the ones you really, really want to make sure you have covered.
Other pieces of travel insurance would be, recovery of baggage. So if your baggage is lost, they would pay up to a certain amount to get that back. That may or may not be important to you. If you travel light and it doesn't cost much to replace what you're traveling with, then that might not be worth factoring into the cost.
All right, Kate. In all of my years of travel, I have never, ever checked a single piece of luggage. And the luggage I do carry is like $30 beat-up luggage I found on sale at Goodwill. So when selecting a policy, I could save money by not having my luggage covered. I'm going to guess
That makes one of us.
you are not the same. What's your luggage situation like for your Swiss vacation?
Oh, I might have 2 checked bags if I'm really going to be there for a month. Oh, wait, we shortened the trip to a week. But I'll definitely have a checked bag. It's not a Louis Vuitton or anything, but I'm checking a bag.
If you lost it, would you be upset?
I'd be more upset about the clothing items inside of it and not necessarily the suitcase itself, if that's what you're asking.
Okay. So you would probably want to check or select the baggage coverage for your travel insurance.
I suppose.
Selecting coverage like this is called a la carte insurance.
Like there's websites out there where you can go through and pick exactly what's important to you. And so if you're doing like a cancel for any reason, then that's kind of going to be a pretty broad umbrella. But if you are worried about traveling to, the Caribbean or Florida during hurricane season, then you want to make sure that you've got some weather protection there, hurricane coverage, those types of things.
So I could go to one of these websites and hand select my insurance coverage. I don't need my luggage covered, but I do need my flights covered. So a little from column A and a little from column B.
The cafeteria plan.
The cafeteria plan. But there's one more big elephant in the room that we need to talk about, and that's COVID. Over the last few years, Sarah says coronavirus has drastically changed the way people use travel insurance.
So I think there's 2 sides of that. There's one that, if your trip is delayed or has to be canceled because you get sick, whether it's COVID or something else. So maybe there's, you're not able to even start the trip. But then the other side of that is I'm on the trip and now something has happened. So, and maybe you're not in a place where you have good health care. Maybe you might be international and it's just in a different kind of healthcare system than what you're used to. Or what you need for what's going on with you. So the medevac coverage is really important for being able to get you back to the United States where you can get care that's going to be at the level that you need it to be.
She said something really important there, medevac coverage. Imagine, Kate, you are vacationing on an island like Haiti, and you contract COVID, and you need advanced medical equipment, like a ventilator. Or imagine you're like me and you are cliff diving in a remote jungle in Costa Rica or the Dominican Republic and you break your leg.
I know someone who fell off their balcony in Mexico.
See?
And had to be medevaced to Miami.
Having medevac coverage would make sure you are covered if you need a helicopter to transport you to a more secure location for better health care. While coverage options vary, Sarah says there is a good standard when it comes to how much you should expect to pay for travel insurance.
Yeah, so it's generally 10% of the price of your trip. But, coming back to like the a la carte piece of it, the more risk you're shifting to the insurance company, then you may see that price point increase.
So while 10% is what you should expect to pay for standard coverage, adding on something like Medevac could bump you up to 15% or more. With all of that being said, Kate, we've estimated that your dream vacation to the Swiss Alps is going to cost $13,500. And if we follow Sarah's rule that coverage should cost around 10%, that would make the total cost of your coverage $1,350. Would you buy that much coverage for your once-in-a-lifetime dream vacation?
Begrudgingly, yes.
You wouldn't risk it.
No, I told you my threshold is $2,000.
Okay, so we've surpassed that with $13,000. So you would fork over the extra $1,300.
I think so.
And as Sarah said, there are websites now that will allow you to select exactly which parts of your trip you want insured. And they'll even send you different coverage quotes from multiple companies. The website I like to use is insuremytrip.com. And that's not just the case when you are traveling. What would happen to your family if something went horribly wrong to you on your vacation?
Make It Make Sense is brought to you by Bedel Financial Consulting. Fee-only, comprehensive wealth management for all generations. Trust Bedel.
The next form of insurance we're going to talk about is life insurance. Kate, I recently sat down with Brock Buckles and Peter Chiaravalo. Together, they founded BC Brokerage, a firm that specializes in finding life insurance, disability insurance, and more for fee-only financial planners and their clients. The biggest question I had about life insurance was, how much life insurance does someone need?
That's a great question. So people oftentimes ask the question, how much life insurance do I need?
This is Brock, by the way.
Right? And the way that we encourage people to think about it is like, how much do you want? Right? What would you want to have happen? Because people have different goals, right? And it's not up to us to really tell you what your goals are. It's up to us to help, ask the right questions so that you can discover what you want that to look like. Because we could have the same family, 2 kids, and one family just wants to pay off the debt, right? Which might be your $350,000 mortgage or $500,000 mortgage, and the other family might want to pay off the debt, send both kids to school, and provide a continuation of lifestyle for the surviving spouse for the next 10 years.
So Brock makes a really good point. When it comes to life insurance, there is no universal standard of coverage because everyone has different needs. I am married with a kid, so chances are I would want more life insurance than someone who is single with no kids.
Oh, ouch.
Well, it's not a dig, but that's kind of the situation we're in, right?
Yeah, I agree. I have no life insurance outside of what we get at work.
There you go. And while it may seem easy to calculate the needs of your loved ones after you are gone, Peter from BC Brokerage says that most people are not very good when it comes to selecting the right life insurance products.
And they're underinsured or they're paying too much for what they have. They're in the wrong product even. They aren't in the right solution or coverage that they should be looking at to accomplish their needs and wants and financial goals.
One of the biggest decisions you have to make when purchasing life insurance is whether you want term life insurance or whole life insurance. Kate, what is the difference between term life and whole life?
So term is exactly that. It covers you for a specific amount of time, typically 10, 15, 20 years. Whole life is a type of permanent coverage that can extend over your entire lifetime.
And I asked Brock if he recommends one over the other.
That's a great question. And so given that what we do is we work with fee-only financial planners specifically, we deal a lot more in term, right? There's a lot more that goes a lot more along with a lot of the fee-only philosophy. Now, there are people out there in the mutuals of the world, right, that are going to try to sell virtually everybody a whole life policy. And I'm not the anti-whole life guy, right? I'm not saying that it can't be good in some situations. For instance, if there is an estate planning problem where there is, a lot of money that's going to have to be offset, it's going to be taxed, or it needs to be offset by a death benefit from a life insurance policy, it's a great opportunity. If there is a family that has an individual or child that has special needs, and they're their caretakers, and there needs to be money left when those, the caretakers pass away, it's a great opportunity. Or if you just run out of other options and you need a place to put some money, it can be a good tax shelter as well. But for your typical person, term insurance is sufficient, and that's what we see the vast majority of our fee-only financial planning partners do.
I just want to note that Brock said whole life insurance could be a good option in those instances, not that it actually is. It could be. Everyone's situation is different, and this is why it's best to work with a professional when exploring your options. On top of life insurance, Brock and Peter also help their clients find something called long-term care insurance. A long-term care insurance policy helps you cover the cost of certain medical services that are not covered by regular health insurance. Policies like this are often used when someone has a chronic medical condition, disability, or a disorder such as Alzheimer's disease. It can also help cover the cost of nursing homes or an assisted living facility.
When this event does occur, right, a long-term care event, what do we want to have happen? Do we want to send mom or dad to a nursing home? What type of nursing home? Where is it? Some people, they have this idea of retiring in Sarasota. Other people, their financial plan won't allow for that, so they might end up in Elkhart, Indiana, unfortunately. And there's everything in between too.
Now, no shade to Elkhart, Indiana, but Kate, Peter makes a great point. You may have big plans to move to an assisted living facility in South Florida, but if you don't have the right type of long-term care insurance, you could find yourself in beautiful, sunny Elkhart or someplace in between. By the way, I looked up the halfway point between Elkhart, Indiana, and Sarasota, Florida, and it is...
Georgia?
Dalton, Georgia.
Yeah! I feel smart.
Someplace in between like Dalton, Georgia. Peter also says that having long-term care insurance could help offset years of medical expenses.
When most people come in for long-term care, it's first off, what do they want to have happen? Okay, we know statistically that for males that the average long-term care claim is about 2.5 to 3 years, and for a female it can be 3 to 4 years. Okay, so 36 to 48 months.
But Brock says if you aren't sure if you are a good candidate for long-term care insurance, it all comes back to risk tolerance.
There's a multitude of ways to do it. The number one thing is identifying kind of what the risk tolerance is, because you can self-insure, right? You can pay for it. It's not always necessarily the right route. So by identifying really what they would want it to look like, the biggest thing about insurance, whether it's disability, term insurance, long-term care insurance, which is what we're talking about right now, is putting them in that seat and saying, okay, here's what it looks like. Here's where you're at. Here's the impact that it can have on your financial plan if you are in a long-term care situation. What do you want it to look like for you? So if they say, I'm not really worried about it, it's not top of mind, I don't care, then probably I don't need long-term care insurance. But if they say, I'd really like to be able to stay at home and have someone come and take care of me, and I want to be in a place to where I'm comfortable, this is where I live, I don't want to have to go to a nursing home or an assisted living facility, then we need to talk about if you can actually afford to do that, or if it might be beneficial to start taking care of some of those long-term care plan options.
Peter says that most people who end up getting long-term care insurance are between the ages of 45 and 70 years old. And obviously, the coverage gets more expensive after you've reached the ages of 70 to 75. He also says that many plans can pay out as much as $6,000 to $9,000 a month toward long-term care. That is a lot of money, Kate.
You'd think, but long-term care the actual care itself is expensive.
It's very expensive. Crucial to all of this, says Peter and Brock, is actually sitting down with your loved ones and having a conversation about disability, long-term care insurance, and life insurance.
I know that like you never want to think about it, and we don't either. But I'd really encourage you to have this conversation one day and just think about it. Now might not be the time, but you'd rather have it enforced than not have it.
And I think it really goes back to is it hard to have those conversations? For us, it feels pretty normalized because it's what we do day in and day out. But I think that there is something to conveying the gravity of the situation. I don't want someone to have to think about their mortality or their morbidity any more than they absolutely have to. But it is necessary to ask that question and put them in that seat. Like, if you weren't here, right, what do you want that to look like? And there's usually like a pause, and I've seen people in tears. I mean, it's like, oh, that's tough to think about, right? Yeah. There's a lot of gravity to that. So it can be tough for people, but I have yet to see someone that didn't feel a lot more relieved that they do have it. And most of the time it's just an automatic payment that they're just like, it's coming out. I know I have it. That feels good to me. But it can be a challenging conversation when people are actually having to think about the what ifs.
Kate, there are tons of different types of insurance and insurance products, from homeowners insurance to health insurance. And unfortunately, we don't have enough time to talk about all of those today, maybe in a future episode. But the important thing is to do your research. Seek the help and advice of professionals and consider all of your options before making a big decision. You mentioned talking to your financial planner.
I can't tell you how many times I've had clients send me the declaration page or statements for their insurance policies, and we determine that change is needed.
Whether you are trying to figure out if you need travel insurance for your vacation in the Swiss Alps or making a serious decision about your long-term health and medical care, insurance is a must in many situations. And while you have those conversations with your loved ones, we'll keep trying to make it make sense.
Make It Make Sense is hosted by Kate Arndt and Chris Wakefield. It is produced by Bedel Financial and recorded at IBJ headquarters in Indianapolis, Indiana. The graphics are by the lovely Amy House. And for show notes and financial news and information, visit bedelfinancial.com/podcast.